What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Aha, and we're returning for the third to last of the special editions, or early versions, alternative versions, and so on the second disc of the 20th anniversary edition of Analogue. And it's an early version of Make It Soon. So when I thought of this song, when I saw this was the next one for these bonus tunes on the second disc, my first thought was two things, which is, first, the ABA sort of structure of the album track. It's sort of stripped down. Indeed, it feels like the percussion is sort of restricted or confined, like it's been, again, sort of rendered bare, and so it doesn't have this big booming pop. It has more of this sort of deconstructed type of sound. I also thought of the electric bleep type of melodic element that is very consistent throughout the first half or so of the track. But the second major thing I thought of is, as I said, the structure of the tune, where it is a bit stripped down and bare, even though it has sort of an alternative sound. But then it really explodes and it gets edgy and intense and powerful, and then it finishes again in a sort of stripped down, deconstructed type of way. So yeah, I immediately thought of both the sonic qualities of the tune and also the layout of the track and the way it really takes you by surprise, or at least it did me. And even when I listen to it, or have listened to it since going through the original version of Analogue, it just strikes me the way it really takes off and explodes, but as I said, with this sort of edgy, raw type of sound. So of course I'm wondering if that will be roughly the same in this early version, and whether the particular arrangement of sounds will be the same. I will do the best I can to highlight or identify any notable differences, but again, it's interesting as I've gone through these bonus tracks with you all, hearing the way some of them started relative to the way they ended. And obviously there's been a couple alternative versions where, it's not necessarily clear that it was an early recording and they ended up working on it more, producing it more, and so on. But yes, when it comes to the specifically labeled early versions, it's always very interesting to me to imagine, what the thought process was after that. Well, we like it, but I think this aspect needs to be worked on, and so on, and the way that it was workshopped into the track that would eventually be on the album proper. So let's hear it. This is the early version of Make It Soon, included on the second disc of the 20th anniversary edition of Analogue.
I watch my love, she's sleeping. The air around her deepens. Tomorrow she will smile again. Tomorrow she'll get wild again. My love and the moon. Take your time, make it soon. I didn't mean to hurt you. That's what I use the words to. Every time we lose our way and get so many things to say, my love and the moon. Take your time, make it soon. But sometimes when I lost it all, I go out of my mind to see what I can find. Take your time, make it so. soon. Yeah.
Wow. So, two things stand out. One, the explosive, edgy part of the track, it's still there, but it's definitely configured differently. It's not quite as explosive, but in a way, it actually felt more edgy and kind of raw and industrial, even. It had more of like this industrial grit to it, especially in the bass and the lower end. It also felt a bit more haunted, and maybe that's because it's not quite as explosive, like powerful, but had still the same darkness or edgy quality. So, yeah, it definitely felt a bit more haunted. I think the vocals also contributed to that. But overall, the structure is seemingly similar. Again, that sort of stripped down first part. I forgot about that, like, smooth, more fluid secondary part in the first, half of the track, but then it does go into the more edgy, like wicked part of the tune, and then it comes out of that with the more stripped down arrangement that it starts with. But in this case, it felt like the final part of the track faded quicker than on the album version, if I'm remembering correctly, still with that electric sort of bleep melodic layer, which I do very much enjoy. So yeah, I guess the biggest difference, it seemed to me, was the more intense, gritty part in the back half of the tune, which, as I said, I think in the album version, they beefed up. They made it more forceful and explosive. I think Morton's vocals in the opening section felt a bit more front and center. I don't know if they like leveled them relative to the other sounds in the album version, or maybe it's just like the vocal recording he did here, it was a bit louder or more forceful, but that did stand out to me too. Either way, it's really interesting. Again, like when you think of certain albums, and again, you longtime Aha fans will know even more than me, you tend to think of a handful of songs right away. This is not one that would immediately come to mind when I think of Analogue, but once I saw it in, again, the playlist on the second disc of bonus tunes here, I thought of those elements, and I really was curious to hear what the early rendition would be. And in that regard, like, it seems like they knew what they wanted to do with it, and in this case it was more about fine-tuning the particular sounds or stylings, but that overall it still, is very much the track that it became on the album. So yeah, it's, like I said, it's just cool to chart their creative process, and I've been able to do that through, and with all of you along with me, and providing insight and guidance, of course, but I've been able to do that hearing demos, and especially maybe from their very early period leading up to the release of their debut album. I've been able to do that through the Aha movie and some of the visual things I've seen, and then also, again, hearing demos and early versions even, well into their career. So yes, I very much enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back for another Aha reaction right after this. Peace.